All right, we'll go back on the record, just so everybody knows what we're going to plan to do. We're going to try to force through tonight.
Okay, we got to...
You want to get the... I don't want to have to answer the door.
Just tell them to walk away if they can. The Carrie's in here horrible.
Oh, what, you need a big marble walled building? Our plan is to forge through, try to get these done tonight.
No, we will get them.
We will get the evidence done. Just for the record, it's going to be our plan. I believe the commissioners will take the matter under advisement, or at least let's plan giving them about documentary evidence for them to review. We will also then have closing statements, simultaneous briefs, what, 10 days? Is that good enough?
Should be.
And
Yeah, but you're thinking just written.
Just written. Yeah, just written.
Yeah, would you get his buy-in?
Yeah, Mr. Schneider, I just went through, I think we talked about it before. Our goal will be to forge through the witnesses tonight. The matter will be taken under advisement by the commission. Simultaneous submitting of written close. And the commission, if our plan is at least by May 2nd, if the commission gets through the documentary and wants to do a special session just for them to deliberate and announce, I'll make council aware of it plenty of time. But a lot of students, there's a lot of documentation you should have to go through. How long for, you think, for closings? For a brief?
Is that next Friday?
Next Friday, so we'll do a week from tomorrow.
Now, be advised that we have discussions in this matter. We are going to do all of those things. We can call with proper notice on a meeting on or before May 2nd.
That's what I told them. That's what I said.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I understand.
No, they'll get notice of
But
it.
the point is we can also handle it telephonically, so both parties, councils as well as the AG, et cetera, and the three of us are usually in the room if we decide to do it before that time.
It would just be for their deliberation vote, would be any closing arguments, just to hear their deliberation vote on the record.
Let's proceed so we can get people home.
Mr. Schneider.
I'm going to recall Sheriff Robbins just for literally
No problem.
questions.
Sheriff Robbins, I'll remind you that you're still under oath.
Okay. Sheriff Robbins, I just wanted to address some questions from Ms. Johnson-Wiles about open containers on public property. She asked you if you arrested people for that. You said no. You asked them to cite him for that. You said no. What do you do when you see people on public property with an open container?
I instruct them to either pour it out. If they don't pour it out, take the container and put it in a trash dumpster.
If they refuse to do that, is that when then you issue the citation?
Yeah.
All right. So it's not something you're just ignoring.
No.
All right. I don't have anything else. No questions.
I do have a question for Sheriff Robbins.
That would be 155.
Sheriff, I want to direct your attention back to Exhibit 155, which included your, you want to find that?
If I can find my locker first. Okay.
And this includes your call log, this patrol log, I guess is what we called it, for January 2017.
55. 155.
155. That would be the letter that is from the county attorney, your call logs in response to the inquiry.
Okay. Okay.
Do you have that document in front of you then?
Well, I got January.
And then, so it's January 2017, and you have December and November 2016, is that correct?
Yes.
And I want to make sure that I'm clear, this is a record of all of the times that you were told or were called to to Whiteclay, Nebraska, from November 2016 through the end of January 2017.
That is the log that, this is the report that I made off the log that the deputies fill out while they're in Whiteclay.
And you indicated in here very clearly when your hours in to Whiteclay, Nebraska, and hours out, is that correct?
Yeah, when you get to Whiteclay and when you get out.
And you took this from the information that was either one provided by you because you were there,
Right.
but you haven't been there for a couple of months, is that correct?
Right.
Or provided by your deputies, is that correct?
Correct.
And these times are accurate.
As far as what they put down, I took off the log, or their sheet. And
Okay.
hopefully I didn't make a mistake.
All right, well, I'm going to direct your attention to December 10th, 2016.
Okay.
And that says hour in at 9 o'clock. Is that correct?
I mean, 9 in the morning.
From 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then moving on to December 11th, 2016.
Yeah.
1500 to 1600. Is that 3 p.m. to 4 p.m.?
Yes.
Moving on to,
Well, are you purposely skipping the other dates that are on December 10th and December 11th? There's two entries for each of those days.
fair enough. Well, I'll go back to, you have 2 entries on December 10th. One was at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., and then you had another one from 7 p.m. to 8 to 9:30 p.m. Is that correct?
Let's see. We have one at 9 to 10. No, on the 10th. We have one from 9 to 10 and one from 1900 to 232. That was by 2 different officers.
Okay. And I see 2132. Am I wrong about that?
The first entry I got down here is 1904 to 2232.
I read it as 2132, but we'll let the document.
Okay, 2132, excuse me.
So moving on then to December 11th, 2016, you had an entry of, I think I asked you this already, 1,500 hours to 1,600 hours, that was 3 to 4 p.m., is that right?
Right.
And then I'm guessing another officer that same day, 8 o'clock p.m. to 10:45 p.m.
That one could be the same officer.
Okay, fair enough. And then moving on to December 12th, you were there at, from 2000 to 2100. Is that, my math is bad now, 8 o'clock to 9 p.m.?
On the 12th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and another entry on the 12th, that is 2340 to 112, so what, 1140 to 1 a.m.?
Yeah, that's another officer.
6 months.
And the reason there's 3 entries on the 12th, there was, or 2 entries on the 12th, was we was having trouble with people coming down from Pine Ridge.
You have-
Writing,
Go ahead.
writing graffiti on the building.
How do you remember that? Curious.
Huh?
How do you remember that? Just curious.
Another one of the officers there.
So this time, you really compiled this in order to show the amount of time that you were spending in Whiteclay, is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So it includes not only normal patrol, but also other reasons why you may be staying there to continue to investigate?
Can you continue to investigate and keep it from happening again?
Did you issue any citations for graffiti?
No, they,
That's against the law?
yeah, it's against the law, but they boogied across the state line before we could catch them.
So I'm looking at now December 10th through December 17th. And I am seeing only 4 separate times that you were in Whiteclay after hours, after the hours of operation at 12 a.m.
Right.
So I'm now looking at December 18th through December 23rd.
Yep.
And I see, it looks like you had 4 in that, 4 in that week as well, is that correct?
I'm sorry, 4 in that what?
In that week as well?
That was after hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, did you observe any after-hours sales of alcohol by liquor license establishments in Whiteclay, Nebraska during that period of time?
From the log and the reports that I get, there wasn't anything that was reported by the deputies.
Okay, there was nothing reported by the deputies?
Yeah.
And did you personally observe any after-hours sales during those periods of time?
I don't think I was in Whiteclay that period of time of that day, or time of the day.
Okay, I have nothing further.
Thank you. Anything else?
You know, on that one page, I think I counted them correctly, there are 38 entries, Sheriff. I don't know if you have to count them right now, but it looks like 26 of them end precisely on the hour or the half hour, and 3 end at the quarter hour. Is that about right? We can count them.
Yeah.
No further questions.
Now, Sheriff Robbins, you're excused. Sir Bodak. Mr. Snyder, next witness.
Call Commissioner Croats.
Commissioner Croats. Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Please raise your hand and be sworn if you proceed, please.
The testimony about to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state your name and spell your name for the record, sir.
My name is James Croats, Janes. Last name Croats, Krotz.
Okay. Mr. Snyder.
Thank you. Are you from Sheridan County?
Yes, I am.
How long have you lived in Sheridan County?
I was born and raised there, left, moved back 14 years ago, and been there since.
Are you a Sheridan County Commissioner?
Yes, I am.
How long have you served as such?
I am in my 10th year.
Who else do you serve with on the board?
I serve with Jack Anderson. He also is in his 10th year, and Lauren Paul, who recently took office this January. But I should say Mr. Paul had served as a commissioner perhaps 16 or 20 years before he'd been in that office.
Part of your duties as a commissioner involve dealing with liquor license application and renewals.
That's correct.
What does that involve from your perspective as a commissioner?
From my perspective, usually not a lot. Most of these renewals are automatic, but when there's an application for a new license or a special renewal such as this, then those applications come before the commissioners, and our responsibility is to review them and then forward them on to the Liquor Commission with a recommendation to approve, to deny, or we can just stand mute on the issue.
Are you familiar with Whiteclay?
Yes, I am.
Have you been there?
Yes, I have.
How often do you go there?
I'm there perhaps half a dozen times a year.
Have you been involved with studying the issues or paying attention to the issues of Whiteclay?
Yes, I have.
In the latter part of last year, were you, the county, notified by this commission of an issue regarding the Whiteclay beer retailers?
Yes.
Was that, were you informed of that by a letter of, well, there are various letters that are actually in front of me right now. Exhibits 193, 194, 195, and 196. So did those letters come to your attention as a county commissioner?
Yes, they did.
No,
Just for the record, the reason why those dates would be upon when we receive the applications.
So the dates are different and the particular retailer is different, but is the sum of the balance of the letter the same?
Yes.
And what did it ask you to do as a commissioner?
Well, it asked us to inform us basically that they were going to be requiring the long form submission for renewal, and asked us to review them and take appropriate action.
Did you set up a time and procedure for doing that?
Yes, we did. We established a date for a public hearing for each of the 4 applicants.
And
If you wish, I'll stipulate all this.
okay, that's fine. I just will be stipulating that they set up time for hearing, that the meeting was properly noticed and notice given to the public and their opportunity to appear at the meeting.
Stipulations approved.
And you had the meetings,
We did.
you had 4 separate meetings for each of these retailers.
That's correct.
And the result of those, after you considered all of the testimony, were some resolutions.
Yes, that's correct.
And those were entered by you and your fellow commissioners.
Yes.
And they are exhibits 197, 198, 199, and 200. Are those certified copies of your resolutions?
Yes, they are.
What was the county board's recommendation in terms of renewal or non-renewal of the licenses for these retailers?
The recommendation of the board was the exact verbiage, to recommend approval to the Liquor Control Commission.
Again, that was after you considered all the evidence that was brought to you by the public.
That's correct.
Did the commission, county commissioners, consider whether or not Sheridan County had adequate law enforcement?
Yes, we did.
What factors did you consider?
We considered the testimony of some 35 citizens who appeared to offer their observations on the appropriateness of renewing these licenses.
Okay. From your participation in that meeting, what did you, the commissioners, conclude?
We concluded that there was no evidence presented to us at that hearing that law enforcement in Whiteclay was inadequate.
Did you receive any evidence that these retailers were no longer qualified to hold a liquor license?
We did not.
Did you receive any evidence that they were seeking a license for a different premises than they already had?
No, we did not.
Did you receive any evidence that the premises were no longer suitable for the sale of alcohol?
No, we did not.
Did you find any evidence that the circumstances regarding law enforcement in Sheridan County have changed any time since 2000?
No, we did not.
I'm going to move on to the budget issues. We've heard some of that today, and I know Mr. Roop had some specific questions about that. Obviously, one of the board's duties is to prepare and authorize a budget for the Sheriff's Department.
That is correct.
Do you have the figures from 2011, 12, and on forward about the budget? What was requested, what was approved, and what the budget, or what the expense actually was?
I do.
Okay. What is the first year of materials that you brought with you there?
The earliest numbers excuse me, I've scrambled these a little bit. The earliest numbers go back to the 2010-2011 budget year.
And I'm just going to simply, right now, just ask you for raw numbers. So what was the requested budget from the sheriff?
The number that I have here is not his request, but the actual amount spent. That's the earliest number I have.
Do you have the requested amount for 2011?
I do. For 2011, no, I don't know what he requested. I know what the commissioners budgeted. I'm sorry, that I don't have that number quite that early.
Now, these reports that you're looking at, they do have, well, this one for 2010 has an actual and a budget.
Right. This is what he spent. This is what we budgeted for the next year. This is what he requested in 2012. That's the earliest request number that I have here today.
Well, 2010, what was, well, let's start with 2011 and 12.
Okay.
What was the budget?
The budget that year was $382,906.
What was actually spent?
Let's see. He actually spent $316,369.
What did he request for 2012 and 13?
In 13, 387,242.
Did you approve that exact amount?
We did, that exact amount.
What did he actually end up spending in 2012 and 13?
All right. In 2012-13, he spent $321,881.
We're over $50,000 below budget. Yes, fair? Yes. What was the request for the next year's 13 and 14?
The next year, the request was $402,792.
What was approved?
And we approved $403,042.
Approved just a little more than even asked for.
Just a little more.
How did he come out on that budget?
Let's see here. Beg your patience here. The The actual amount expended was $318,213.
$80,000 and change below budget. Yes. What did he request for 14 and 15?
The request in 14-15 was $340,604. No, excuse me, wrong column, I'm sorry. The requested amount in 2015 was $428,975.
What was approved? 15.
This is 15-16.
And then you mind giving us the number again, I'm sorry.
Oh, sure, no problem. The requested amount for 2015 and 16 was $428,975.
Thank you.
What did you authorize?
And the board approved $433,889.
So again, you approved more than he requested.
A little bit more.
Did he come in under budget again?
I believe he did, let me check.
I think what you ought to do is talk back to this gentleman again and see how to get a budget.
Well, I'm thinking the same thing, maybe I need the legislature to approve what I asked for. You know, I'm trying to get the secret.
Let's see, in 15-16, he came in at $447,387 spent.
I might have gotten confused there. I thought you said the budget was 428.
All right.
So let's make sure we get here.
Let's do indeed. All right.
He jumped a year. He jumped a year.
We skipped a year, I think, here. So
Maybe
we've
that's
got
what happened.
2014 and 2015. The budget was 416,000.
Correct.
And what did he actually spend?
14, 15, he spent $340,604.
So he's $76,000 below
Yes,
budget.
right.
Moving on to 15-16, he requested 428,000.
Correct.
And you gave him 433.
And we gave him about 5,000 more, 433,889.
All right, so let's find the actual numbers for 2015-16.
Now, actual for 15-16.
Yep.
Let's see, right here. All right.
Actual 15-16.
All right, thank you. 347,055.
And again, the budget was 428,000, so he's 75,000 plus.
Right.
All right. Now for this year, 2016 and 17, he requested $500,283.
Correct.
Did you approve that exact amount?
Let's see. We actually, no, we approved more. No, that's not right. 16, 17?
Yes. I'm asking about 16, 17, the requested number and the approved.
Yes, you're right, but that's not the number. Here's where it's at.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
so you've got.
I don't know, what do, this
Does
was
this
an earlier
include the
draft.
jail or something?
No, it was not.
Joe, you can't talk at the same time, you get
Yeah.
confused.
Actually, the amount that we approved, I apologize, this may have been an earlier draft of that budget, but the amount that we actually approved for the sheriff's budget for this coming year, 2016-17, this year, is $701,490.
Wow.
All right?
So in these,
409?
Yes, 490.
so in these past years that we've gone through, the county certainly hasn't shorted the sheriff on his budget. I mean, you've increased it by 300,000 plus, is that right?
Yes, that's
Is it fair to say that Jack Anderson's comments before the legislature that were referenced here earlier are simply inaccurate?
Object.
I'll object also, asking for a comment on statements by another witness.
it was not fair. Right.
I'm going to overrule it in this regard because he was a commissioner. I mean, and I did ask the question, I'm going to open it up. So if there's an error, it's on me, so I'm going to overrule the objections, allow the
And I'm going to go ahead and limit it just to his comment that they didn't have funds for law enforcement. Is that inaccurate?
Will you ask that again, please?
Is Commissioner Anderson's comments before the legislative committee that you did not have funds for law enforcement inaccurate?
Calvin, you the objections just for the record.
Sure, I'll roll objection to you.
Well, you're asking me to comment on the remarks a friend made in a circumstance
Yes.
where I wasn't present, but,
Hold on. If you don't feel comfortable answering the question, then just-
I'll waive it. I don't want to make him, put him in an uncomfortable position.
hey, you know what? Takes the question off the appealable issue list.
Well, it is fair to say the sheriff has had every budget that he's requested and sometimes more.
that is correct.
And every year he's come in under budget.
That is
And
correct.
for this year, you've increased the budget over the last year by more than $200,000.
That's correct.
Have you had any indication from law enforcement in Sheridan County that the county was not providing adequate tools, equipment, training, or personnel?
No, we have not. May I ask a question? Is it still?
I'm done.
Just a real quickie. It's still the sheriff and 5 deputies? Yes. So you went from 200,000 to 700,000?
Well, our hope is that he's going to expand that deputy force.
Okay, but right now, it's still the same 5 guys.
Right.
Or
that's
5
right.
officer deputies.
So the issue, at least for this commissioner, is not money, although like every county, we could use more of it, but it's people, as you heard from the sheriff. So we wanted to give him resources to hire him, if he can find them.
Let's have Ms. Donna and Melissa go, and then we can answer more questions.
I think I only have a couple of questions, Commissioner. I also understand these numbers, and if I appreciate them accurately, the numbers that are of interest to me are that the sheriff went from an actual expenditure in the previous year of $347,000 to an approved budget of $701,000, which would be more than 200%, more than doubling. Now, and you have, of course, many times in your life heard, have you not, the expression that actions speak louder than words.
I have.
And so isn't it true that what happened here is that your commission unanimously chose to double the amount of expenditures because you perceive a need for significantly more law enforcement?
We perceive a need for more.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Ms. Watson.
Commissioner Cox?
Croats, right? Votes.
Commissioner Brooks, Sheriff Robbins didn't testify for the county board as he was for the licensing law hearings, did he?
No, he did not say that, actually.
He didn't testify, did he?
No, he did not. Excuse me, I thought I heard you say he said he testified.
He didn't testify.
No, he did not testify.
So when you testified just now that there was no evidence after hearing 35 people testify, that there was no evidence that law enforcement was inadequate.
They
Am I correct about
they
that?
presented to us at that time no evidence of inadequate law enforcement.
And you've heard testimony from a variety of people about concerns that they have in Whiteclay, Nebraska.
We
is that
do.
correct? And you do hear testimony from citizens regarding things that they have witnessed in Whiteclay, Nebraska that's concerning to them.
I believe we did hear some testimony regarding things that people had personally witnessed.
But you didn't call Sheriff Robbins to testify or provide any information during the hearings, did you?
We did not.
Have you been provided any call logs from Sheriff Robbins regarding his deputies and his presence in Whiteclay, Nebraska?
No, and we did not request them.
So you didn't request them?
No.
Do you think that November, the total hours of 67 for law enforcement in Whiteclay, Nebraska in November 2016 is adequate?
I'm not qualified to render a judgment on that.
Do you think that 50 hours spent in Whiteclay, Nebraska in December 2016 by the Sheridan
render a judgment on that.
So do you think that 51 hours in January 2017 by Sheriff and Sheriff policy is adequate?
Well, I'm curious why you continue to ask me this. I'm not qualified to render judgments on law enforcement issues like that.
Commissioner, oftentimes lawyers will ask a question they know the answer to for possible appeal or for other issues. She's asking on all 3 months in which was
I'm
supplied.
still not qualified.
Then that's your answer.
Isn't it true then, Commissioner, that with respect to the issue of whether there's enough law enforcement in Whiteclay, Nebraska, you say you're not qualified to determine that, and yet didn't you just tell us that there was no evidence that it wasn't?
You'll have to rephrase that, I'm
Yeah, okay,
afraid.
that's fair enough. You said that you're not qualified to say whether this is adequate in Whiteclay, Nebraska. Is that true?
Yes, I did.
And yet you told us that your finding was that there was no evidence that law enforcement was inadequate.
That too is correct.
So if it's not your role as commissioner in making a recommendation to the Liquor Control Commission to opine about the resources and the commitment that your sheriff's office has in the county of Sheridan towards one of its towns.
Indeed, and it is my opinion that they are sufficient, that they're adequate.
Okay, so you are qualified to state that they are adequate.
Not necessarily on the basis of those numbers that you presented. My point was that I don't, not being a law enforcement official, I wouldn't begin to know how many hours a sheriff or a police chief ought to spend in attending to a specific community.
So is that something that maybe you should have asked Sheriff Robbins at the hearing?
Sheriff Robbins wasn't invited to attend. This was a public hearing for citizens to come express their concerns.
And when you say he wasn't invited to attend, what do you mean by that?
I mean, it's not a hearing in the sense that this is a hearing where you can subpoena people to come in and answer your questions. This was an open the door, advertise the opportunity to come express your concerns, and they did.
He was there, though.
He was there.
Okay. And what my question to you was, he was there, and it would seem to me that his input would be important to you as a commissioner and your other commissioner in determining whether sufficient resources are being dedicated to one of the towns that are in this county.
I see your point. And of course that is important, but we're in regular communication with Sheriff Robbins.
But you didn't have these call-offs.
No, we didn't have those call-offs.
Commissioner Brooks, did you state that law enforcement must be adequate in Whiteclay, Nebraska because Sheriff Robbins was recently reelected?
Did I state that?
Yes.
I believe that actually Commissioner Anderson was the one who brought up those numbers.
When did you need to approve the budget for the Sheridan County Sheriff's Office for 2016, 2017?
You know, I think it must have been mid-September. I couldn't give you the exact date.
Did Sheriff Robbins testify during that meeting?
No.
I have no further questions.
Any questions from the three commissioners?
Nope.
Any redirect?
I got a half dozen questions, but I'm not sure that somebody that passes a budget that's 200% over what's requested really evaluated what was there. I can tell you from my own experience, there is not adequate shifts to cover all of the hours. But as a commissioner, you must feel comfortable with the product that he's turning out.
We are.
And that's your opinion, I appreciate
And
it.
if I might just add, my concern in this budget increase has at least to a significant degree, to do with the expansion of the nursing home into Nebraska. That's just opened up. We're just beginning to see what the impact of that might be on public safety. So that's why I was concerned to see an expansion.
Thank you. Mr. Snyder. I'm sorry, Mr. Downey, the other. Mr. Snyder.
I think it's Andy's turn. You have the answer.
Mr. Baumann, I talked to you earlier. You said part of the reason for this budget increase was I'm not sure if you said a need, but you talked about more law enforcement. Or you'd like to see more or something like that.
You answer yes or no.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Sorry. Head nods are normal, great normal conversation. They really translate into electronic format very craftily. You worry.
When you're saying that, does that equate to meaning that you believe that the law enforcement in Sheridan County is inadequate as it has been and is now?
No.
Can you explain that?
Well, I live out in the country, in the sand hills, on a dirt and gravel road, which I consider adequate. My neighbor tells me life would be a lot better if this were paved. Now that's the distinction I would make. I think we have adequate law enforcement. In fact, probably a little better than adequate. Could it be better? No doubt.
The only other thing I wanted to ask you about was this task force. We heard some evidence earlier about the governor's task force.
Yes.
You were present?
I was.
All right. Are you on that task force?
I am.
We heard testimony that the whole task force, the members of the task force agreed that law enforcement was inadequate in Sheridan County. Is that what the task force found?
The task force said that life would be better if we had more law enforcement. I do not recall at any time anyone on the task force saying that it was inadequate. And I'll refer you back to my road analogy.
Do you recall that particular subject, adequacy of law enforcement, being discussed at all within the task force?
I do not.
I don't have anything further.
Just a couple of questions, Mr. Crowitz. First of all, just to clear up this matter about the governor's task force. Of course, it rendered a written report to the governor, didn't it?
I believe there was a very brief list of priorities that were sent to the governor.
And did you see the list that Mr. Bontour presented to
I
you
did,
today?
yes.
And did he accurately describe that list?
Yes.
And was Mr. Bontour's testimony generally accurate as given today, so far as you know?
Generally, yes.
And was that true of his wife?
Yes.
And was that true of Abram Newman as well?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Just one other question then, and that is very, very briefly about the nursing home. I want to be sure we're talking about the Oglala Lakota Tribes nursing home?
Correct.
And is it approximately a mile perhaps south of the state line?
That's correct.
On Highway 87, sir?
Yes.
That's sort of at the south edge of the settlement, if I may use that word, that we're generally describing with the word or phrase Whiteclay.
That's correct.
Do you know how many beds that nursing home has?
More than 60.
All right. It's more than 60.
More than 60. I think it's 67, but I wouldn't want to be held on that.
Very well, thank you. And that is a nursing home for elderly or impaired persons?
That is correct.
And it's because it was built a mile south of the state line that you doubled the law enforcement budget?
I said that was a consideration.
Yes, sir, you did say that. Thank you.
Let's move on.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate your testimony. Your excuse is witness.
Now, does being excused mean that I can leave?
If the council shake their heads at me, yes, it is.
Well, I'd like to stick with you to the end, but I don't...
You're more than welcome to stick with me, but if I'm giving you the eject cord if you want to pull it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Can I do that?
No.
Gotta have something going on.
Mr. Snyder, please call your next witness at your convenience, sir.
Clay Brenner.
Please raise your hand if you swear, sir.
Do you swear the testimony about to give be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Chief, please state your name and spell your name for the record, sir.
Clay Bramer, C-L-A-Y-B-R-E-H-M-E-R.
Thank you. Mr. Snyder.
You hold a liquor license? Is your business in Whiteclay? What's the name of the business?
State Line Liquor?
You run that with your brother Daniel?
Yes.
How long have you been doing that?
15 years.
When did you originally get your license?
2002. It was January 5th, somewhere.
Are you remain a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
Are you a resident of Nebraska?
Yes.
Have you, since you got your license, been convicted of a felony or Class 1 misdemeanor that would disqualify you from holding it?
No.
Do you ever have a liquor license revoked?
No.
Do you own or lease the premises on which your license is issued for?
Yes.
Have you completed a course on responsible beverage service training?
Yes.
Are the premises for which you're seeking renewal the same premises for which your license was initially granted?
Yes.
And are the premises the same physically with no alteration?
With the we put on an addition.
When that addition was made, I assume that was proposed then to the commission?
Yes.
And approximately when was that done?
Can you speak in the mic?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know, 2004, 2005?
It's been a while then.
Yes.
Since that addition, is anything changed about the premises?
No.
Does the premises remain suitable for the sale of alcohol?
Yes.
You're able to maintain control of the product that's for sale?
Yes.
And your inventory?
Yes.
Has the premises been inspected annually by the Nebraska State Patrol?
Yes.
Is the same true of the state fire marshal?
I'm not for sure about the state fire marshal. I think that's probably fall under jurisdiction of the state patrol investigator. I don't recall seeing the state fire marshal.
Is it been inspected by the Department of Food and Health?
Yes,
Because you sell some non-alcoholic beverages and chips and snacks?
Yeah.
And you're inspected by, for tobacco sales?
Yes. Well, that's the county that does that.
And have you passed all of those inspections anytime they've been done?
Yes.
Most recently, you've had some inspections for this long form application.
Yes.
And did that include an inspection by the fire marshal?
Yes.
And the Department of Agriculture for Food and Health?
Yes.
Tobacco sales?
Yes.
And the Nebraska State Patrol?
Yes.
Has anyone after those inspections informed you that the premises isn't suitable for the sale of alcohol?
No.
Have you renewed your license in the past?
Yes.
Did you do that by the automatic renewal process?
Did it through the mail for a long time, and I started it online 4 or 5 years ago.
Did you attempt to do that this year, to automatically renew your license?
Yes.
Were you allowed to do so?
No, I received an error message saying that I needed to contact the commissioner.
So you weren't even allowed to submit the renewal application?
No.
Now, you received an order of the commission, I believe a reference to date of November 1st, and was signed on November 2nd. Do you recall that order?
Yes.
Prior to receiving that order, were you informed by this commission that a hearing would be held regarding your licenses on November 1st?
No.
Did you receive any notice that informed you that your renewal privilege was being considered at that hearing?
No.
Or that you could lose your renewal privilege?
No.
Did you receive any notice that told you the date and time for the hearing?
No, I'm sorry, no.
Or the nature of the proceeding for that hearing on November 1st?
No.
Or motions that would be made regarding your license?
No.
Or evidence that would be offered?
No.
Did you complete the long form application as requested?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
That was the only option that I saw, that I had to keep my fingers open.
Now, you received an order dated January 25th, again from this commission, that didn't set the hearing for today because we moved the hearing, that essentially set this issue for hearing. Is that accurate?
Yes.
On your property, not the street or somebody else's property, what type of crimes have happened on your property?
I struggle to keep any crime off of my property. I work and I tell my employees to not let anyone stand out front, not let anyone loiter. I would say that there may have been assaults back, in times past, but I can't recall anything as of recent.
Have you participated in Sheriff Robbins described as no trespassing order?
Yes, we did fill out one form on one individual, yes.
If you see somebody loitering on your property, for example, and drinking a beer, do you go out and say something to them?
Tell them that they can't, it's illegal, they can't have it there, and if they need to move and go somewhere else.
If you've had a serious thing like an assault, do you call law enforcement?
Yes.
Did you believe the responses that you got from law enforcement were adequate?
Yes.
Have you had interactions with law enforcement in 2016 or 17 that were designed to ensure that you're following the law?
Yes, we've had audits from the liquor commissions, and we generally know when there's been a sting by the state patrol. We received notice of the
Compliance.
When we put a compliance check, as the statute allows.
I'm sorry.
Not the term sting.
Oh,
It's a point of
Yeah.
touchiness for the business jargon.
Yeah, we received notices once we, complied, and, so we have.
Do you get along with Sheriff Robbins and his department?
Yes.
And the troopers of the Nebraska State Patrol?
Yes.
Are you cooperative with them?
Yes.
And they cooperative with you?
Yes.
Have you had, from your personal observation, more or less law enforcement in Whiteclay in 2016?
16, there was a lot more law enforcement, yes.
Prior to 2016, dating back to when you originally got your license, was the level of law enforcement the same or substantially the same?
It was the same, yeah.
I'm
No,
sorry,
It was the same.
You did notice changes that substantially reduced the law enforcement that you had in Whiteclay?
No.
The only significant change would have been more in 2016.
Yes.
Are you fit, willing, and able to properly provide service according to your liquor license?
Yes.
And you conform to all the provisions and requirements of the rules and regulations as adopted by, or from the Nebraska Liquor Control Act and as adopted by this commission?
Yes.
I don't have anything else.
John?
Very few. In one of those volumes, there's an exhibit number 6, Mr. Bramer, and I think it may be the other one,
Okay.
but if you would mind taking a quick look at that. Cash corresponding to exhibit numbers.
Okay.
Is that a photograph of the front of your business establishment?
Yes, it is.
Do you have any location other than in that building where you store alcohol?
No.
After it's delivered to you?
No, it's all, it has to be on a licensed premises, yeah.
Do you maintain an inventory of kegs?
No.
Do you deal in kegs?
No.
Have you ever sold a keg?
No.
Do you use a cash register?
We hadn't for a long time, and we started using one recently,
And how recently, sir?
within the last month.
So is there one cash register in your business?
Just one.
Have you tracked the average sale size?
Since we started using it,
Yes.
we just started using it, so I don't have that data with me. I don't.
Can you enlighten the commission about what you think your approximate average volume for sale is, sir?
I would.
Wait a minute. I don't understand the term volume. Are you talking about
Dollar
volume of
volume.
alcohol?
Dollar volume. Typically, I'm sorry.
It
Before
depends.
we allow stuff here. So it's
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It depends on the time of day. Earlier in the mornings, you're going to get people that are coming in buying 2, 3 cans, you know, so your transactions are gonna be $7, $8, maybe $10. And as the day wears on, the transactions are gonna get to be higher. That people get off of work at 3, 4 o'clock, so they're going to, you know, be coming in and grabbing their 6-pack, you know, to take home, or, you know, if they got something going on that night, then maybe they'll buy a 12-pack or an 18-pack. Or, you know, on the weekends, of course, we'll be going through more cases. So it kind of adjusts with the time of day and of course, you know, the time of the month, and, yeah.
Is your customer base predominantly a Native American group?
Yes,
And predominantly from South Dakota?
I would guess that they are from South Dakota.
In your submissions, there's an affidavit signed by you that was filed with the commission, and that affidavit has some Nebraska State Patrol Division of Investigative Services data attached to it. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
And are these affidavits and evidence?
Those are the ones from the earlier hearing, correct?
Yeah, state patrol information are separate.
All right, thank you. I just want to ask you a couple of questions for that data. You owned an establishment called the Red Zone in Chevron.
Mhm.
Did you own it with your brother?
Mm-hmm.
You say yes or no?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
And did you close it? Is that true?
Yes, yes, we did close it.
And I'm not suggesting you closed it because of this, but did you close it after you had a violation there for selling liquor to a minor?
No, that wasn't,
I
there
didn't
was.
ask whether there was a cause or effect. I'm only asking about timing now. Did you sell it after you had an infraction for selling to a minor?
I think it was a couple of years after we had an infraction, yes.
And you had one of those at Whiteclay as well?
We had, during a compliance check.
Have there been any improvements made to the store in the last 2 years?
Yeah, we paved our parking lot. It used to be gravel.
Is it in front of the store?
Yeah. It's not paved, it's actually just concrete now.
So is it your testimony that you have a parking area in front of the store between the front of your store and the highway?
Yes.
Did you pave up to the highway's paved surface or
Yes.
side shoulder?
Yes.
And so there's now continuous hard surface from Highway 87 to your doorstep?
Yes.
And on into the store?
Mm-hmm.
You work at the store?
Yes.
And your store is yours the northernmost of the store locations?
It would be in the middle of town on the, on the east side.
So you're on the east side of the highway?
Yes.
And I don't, maybe to talk about just very, very briefly the town, look at Exhibit 141, 141.